The farmers have been on a historic united struggle for now almost 10 months. The struggle has been going on, which has been described as a beacon of hope for the struggles by workers and peasants across the world by none less than Professor Noam Chomsky. It has been since June 2020 when the BJP government initially came up with three ordinances and later pushed through as laws in the parliament without proper discussion either with the state governments or with the farmers organizations. The farmers in a unprecedented show of unity with more than 500 organizations building a issue based unity against these three acts have been on the streets protesting against these, since they feel that this is going to actually threaten their existence and threaten the futures of their families. This struggle, which has been going on from June 2020 onwards, took a different shape in November when the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, the issue based unity of more than 500 organizations, gave a call for Delhi Chalo and a countrywide protest on the same, coinciding with the Delhi Chalo program. Simultaneously, the trade unions, the central trade unions also gave a call for the general strike, which was saw a participation of more than 26 crore people across the country. It was against the against the four labor codes which were also passed without any discussion during this June, the parliament session in June itself. Brought it in June, and in I think in September it was passed. So against that, you saw for the first time the working class coming out in protest on this, coinciding with the protests of the farmers. So you had for the first time an active solidarity shown by the working class towards the issues of the farmers, and the farmers organizations extending support to the general strike with a call for a Gramin Bharat Hartal or a rural strike. So it is an unprecedented show of worker peasant unity that we saw on November 26th. The working class organizations extended support to the November 26th and November 27th Delhi Chalo. The manner in which the BJP government dealt with this march, peaceful march of the farmers, where lakhs of farmers, a big number of them women, marching peacefully to Delhi, was also extremely barbaric. They used JCBs to dig trenches on the national highway, put up shipping containers, use water cannons and tear gas, as well as baton charge the farmers to try and stop them from reaching Delhi. However, setting aside all these hurdles, lakhs of farmers have come and sat at the borders of Delhi, and now it is 10 months now. More than 650 farmers in the course of this struggle, in extreme cold and also the extreme heat, have become martyrs in this struggle. This is something which we have not seen in recent history, this kind of a resolute nature of resistance to the pro-corporate laws brought by the BJP government. People have been saying different things, whether it will affect the productivity and so on. One must note that in India, a farmer, according to the latest survey reports of the government itself, in 2018-19, from cultivation is earning only 27 rupees a day. So that is a situation before the pandemic. Under the pandemic and the stringent lockdown, the situation has further deteriorated. It is in such situation of extreme distress that the farmers are out in protest for such a long time, and they have put in place their own mechanisms to ensure that the cultivation takes place, harvesting and other activities take place by taking shifts in coming to the borders and joining in these protests. That is something which a unique manner in which the farmers themselves have found a solution to address the issues of cultivation also. So, I do not think that is going to lead to a huge fall in the production. For the farmers, it is a life and death question. That is why we are finding this kind of a resolute struggle that is going on, which despite all efforts of the government, despite threats and intimidation, despite the canard spread in the corporate media, the farmers are continuing on the struggle. And every day we are finding, not just around the borders of Delhi, but in all parts of the country also, huge number of farmers are taking part in this struggle. It is also to be noted that these struggles are not something that has spontaneously emerged just like that. Because if you want to understand the nature of these struggles, how this kind of a unity has been built, I think it has to be, one has to go a little behind, back into up to 2014, from when different issue based unities have been built by the farmers. Firstly, against the land acquisition ordinance, against indiscriminate land acquisition for corporate profiteering, and against and for the land rights of people, a issue based unity called the Bhumi Adhikar Andolan was formed. Later, on the two issues of remunerative price for the farmers produce and also freedom from indebtedness, another issue based unity called the All India Kisan Sangharsh Coordination Committee was formed, and numerous struggles under these platforms did take place. In fact, the Modi government was forced to withdraw the land acquisition ordinance on the basis of these united struggles. So, that is an experience that we have. We also have the important struggles like the Kisan Long March from Nasik to Mumbai, the struggles of the Rajasthan farmers in Sikar and elsewhere, which also inspired a lot of movements later on. Solidarity that was built, Nation for Farmers, the different sections coming out in support of the farmers. We had writers for farmers, journalists for farmers, students for farmers, advocates for farmers, doctors for farmers. So, these kind of a solidarity coming up, that is also something which we have not seen before. I have been involved with the movement of the farmers for almost 12 years now. I have never seen this kind of a solidarity emerging. So, when we talk about this movement, yes, just preceding this, you had the historic movement against the Citizenship Amendment Act. Surely that also is an inspiring factor in this entire struggle that we are witnessing now. But if you see, the Citizenship Amendment Act related protests were restricted to few cities, and also some states had much more active involvement in it. For instance, in Kerala, in Bengal, in Assam, and certain other states. But if you look at the issues of the farmers, they have managed to build a effective coordination with the working class organizations. The protests now, it is not that the working class are just expressing a token show of support to the farmers' protests. They are actively participating in the protest of the farmers. Similarly, the farmers are taking active part in the protests of the working class against privatization, against the efforts to crush the workers' rights. The farmers are also talking on those against those issues. This is also something which we never saw before. And if you see the spread of the movement, there is not a single state that has not witnessed protests against the three anti-farmer acts, demanding minimum support price at least 50% more than the cost of production. So, that is something which in every state we are having these protests. Even in states of the northeast, in Assam, in Tripura, Manipur, we are witnessing protests. Also, states like Mizoram and Nagaland, some of the organizations there, they also have shown interest in these protests. They have come extended solidarity. If you look at the borders here, the Singhu border, Tikri, Ghazipur, Palwal border, and also Shahjahanpur. Shahjahanpur literally a mini India. You have farmers who have come from Maharashtra, from Assam, from Kashmir, from Kerala, and Tripura, in fact every part of India. In Palwal you have farmers coming from Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Haryana and Odisha. Similarly, in the Ghazipur you have people from Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, and the other states coming to the Singhu and Tikri borders. So, that is the kind of spread this movement has had, and it also took forward to a different level in the elections, taking a campaign of no vote for the BJP. That is something which is very significant in the 5 assembly elections that were held, and now there has been a call for a mission Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Punjab, where the Samyukta Kisan Morcha is going to take a campaign for calling upon the electorate to defeat the BJP. So, that is something which is to be noted. I think learning from the lessons of the Citizenship Amendment Act related protests, this has managed to build broader solidarities. The working class peasant unity is something very much important to note, and that is continuing because on 27th of September, the Samyukt Kisan Morcha has given a call for an all India Bandh, Bharat Bandh, and the working class organizations have already extended support. They are working hard to ensure it is a successful Bandh. The working class organizations, especially the scheme workers, have given a call for a strike on 24th of September. The Samyukt Kisan Morcha has already extended support to that. So, this is something which we never saw earlier. In the course of our struggles, consensus on broader issues have been happening, rather than restricting it just to the 2 or 3 issues that initially led to the struggle in November, in June and later November of 2020. So, if you look at the steps taken by the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, every state is now going to have a state chapter of the Samyukt Kisan Morcha. Meetings are being held in that direction, where organizations at the state level are all joining together in conventions and deciding on the course of struggle to make it a much broader struggle. Simultaneously, the meetings of the organizations of the agriculture labor, the peasantry and the working class coming together and having a 2-week long campaign in July, it reached out to lakhs of households across the country. If I take the example of the state of Andhra Pradesh, about 12,000 villages have been touched jointly by the working class organizations, the Kisan organizations and the agriculture labor organizations, with pamphlets explaining the why the opposition to the 3 acts as well as the labor codes, why the need for unity and exposing the role of the BJP government. So, that is something which is unique. You have all witnessed how the Mahapanchayats have been happening. The Muzaffarnagar Mahapanchayat, it is significant to note, a place where witnessed the worst forms of communal violence, which led to the polarizing campaign of the BJP and helped them to come to power in BJP. From Muzaffarnagar, a message of unity, a message of communal harmony, a message against corporate loot and policies that promote corporate loot, and also against the 3 anti-farmer acts as well as the labor code. That is something which was sent from the a million strong Kisan Mazdoor Panchayat held at Muzaffarnagar. Now, we intend to carry forward this kind of united panchayats in different parts of our country, especially in the initial phase in the 3 states which are very soon going to polls. We also see that in the parliament, the totally undemocratic manner in which the present government is carrying forward with the process of lawmaking. It is we have never witnessed such a situation ever, at least in the last 3 decades that I have been involved with political activism. I have not seen any government which has been so intolerant to criticism. Even the parliamentary standing committees are not given a proper hearing. There is no discussion on the acts that are being brought, even post the 3 farm acts as well as the labor codes. No proper discussion being done on different other acts that are being brought. It is we have seen how many of these acts without any discussion are pushed within no time. It is just a farcical manner in which it is being some of these bills are being brought. And I remember when the land acquisition rehabilitation related act was being discussed, and the then UPA government had given just with a short notice given the amendments a letter to the speaker that this is against the established norms of parliamentary democracy, made the then speaker to actually stop the placing of the act on the floor of the parliament, and there was much more time given where there was further consultation with all opposition parties. That kind of a situation is not happening now. We have seen how those who are raising voices have been just expelled from the parliament. They have been suspended from the parliament. Our All India Kisan Sabha Joint Secretary K.K. Ragesh, Trade Union National Secretary Elamaram Karim, all being suspended just because they have raised their voice in the interest of the farmers and workers of our country. So, that is something which we are witnessing under this government. We have seen simultaneously how voices of dissent are sought to be crushed by arresting intellectuals and activists, and also journalists who are questioning this government's anti-people policies. It is going to be more than, in fact, more than a year since the protests first emerged, and also the since the Delhi Chalo program, when farmers, lakhs of farmers have been sitting on the borders of Delhi, that has already completed 10 months. So, almost a year of struggle that has been going on continuously, and despite repeated efforts for negotiations with the government, there were 12 rounds of talks that happened, but the government just unwilling to listen to the voice of the farmers. It is as though a set of corporate cronies have drafted some laws for them, and they are hell bent on implementing them come what may. So, that is why we see there is in a federal system, there is no discussion with the state governments, there is no discussion democratically with any farmers organizations or political parties at all. So, that situation exists. But whether this struggle is still required is a question which has been asked often, and whether the MSP is threatened. Actually, you see the MSP, our struggles earlier also, we have demanded legal guarantee for MSP, and the struggles of the All India Kisan Sangharsh Coordination Committee, from amidst the struggles, 2 bills were prepared by farmers themselves, one for freedom from indebtedness, another for ensuring remunerative price at least 50% more than the cost of production, and they were placed in the parliament as private member bill. However, this government has not paid any heed to them. So, our claim even now is that MSP is still not benefiting a large section of our farmers. Only in paddy and wheat, maybe a small section of farmers, especially in Punjab, Haryana, in parts of UP, and a state like Kerala, where paddy is being procured at much higher, almost 1000 rupees more than the centrally fixed MSP. Most other places there is no procurement, public procurement worth the name. So, that is the situation. Our demand is there should be legal guarantee for MSP, there is need for expanding the procurement mechanism, and that is what is required now. Unfortunately, the government is not having any plan to expand the procurement mechanism, and they are going ahead with these 3 acts, claiming that the corporate companies would pay the better prices for the farmers' produce. It is like telling the farmers that Adanis and Ambanis are going to pay them the remunerative price for their produce. We have innumerable examples when corporate companies have directly tried to procure from the farmers, and it has literally been cheating of farmers that has happened. If you look at the case of the Mandsaur firing, in which 6 farmers were shot dead by the BJP government in 2017, we visited their families, and they were cultivating garlic. The cost of production according to the farmers was about 33 to 35 rupees per kg, but the government claimed it was 27 rupees a kg. Farmers were getting only 1 rupee a kg in the Neemuch wholesale market. But on the same day, in Reliance Fresh run by the Ambanis, the 1 kilo of garlic was being sold at 147 rupees a kg. So, this is the kind of profiteering that some of these companies engage in, and to expect that they are going to pay remunerative price for the farmers, that is just wishing too much. That never happens. The farmers are very clear, and the experience of states like Bihar and other places also is shows that this system wherein the farmers are pushed at the mercy of the corporate companies, that is not going to benefit them in any way. The government controlled agriculture produce market committees, the market yards, were actually set up to ensure that the farmers are not exploited by the big traders and the big companies. And today the government is actually trying to do away with the APMCs across the country wherever they are existing. Our demand has been that this marketing network has to be further extended, so that farmers have access to markets near as close as possible to their fields. Unfortunately, that is not what the government is intending to do now. They are totally decontrolling and saying that the big corporate companies can directly procure from the farmers without any control of the government. This APMCs, doing away with APMCs, is going to help farmers. This narrative that the BJP government has been pushing through, we have to see the case of Bihar. In 2006, Bihar did away with the APMC, the agriculture produce markets. And what is the situation there? What is the condition of especially the paddy farmers, the wheat farmers there? Since there is no government procurement worth the name, and since there is no agriculture produce market committees, the farmers in Bihar are forced to sell their paddy to the big traders at much lower than the minimum support price. For instance, a few months back, the minimum support price of paddy was around 1868 per quintal, but farmers in Bihar were selling it at as low as 800 or 1000, and even in the best cases maybe 1200. I have an instance of a farmer, a young farmer from Nevada, who actually was working in a corporate sector a few years back, who is cultivating 7 acres of land. According to him, this year he could get only 1200 per quintal of paddy, whereas the price then MSP was 1868, and a farmer in Kerala is getting 2800, because the Kerala government is intervening in favor of the farmers. So, this is the situation when you do not have the government controlled market yards, and it is direct, farmers are at the mercy of the corporate companies. Also, there is this talk about middlemen and middlemen exploiting farmers. There could be areas where middlemen are exploiting farmers, but the effort of the government is to actually throw the baby with the bathwater. What is required is reforms within to ensure that such exploitation, wherever it exists, is actually could be stopped. Here we must also note the portrayal of middlemen as though an extremely oppressing section, which is actually exploiting the farmers in a big way. That is also not really the real factor in many of the rural areas. There is a symbiotic relationship which exists in different places, where many of the middlemen also come from the farming communities itself. The farmers and these agents also do have some relations where they help mutually. So, that situation is there. However, there are also instances where exploitation does happen. There has to be stringent mechanism in which these can be put an end to. Rather than end the entire government controlled agriculture produce markets, what is required is to extend the markets to ensure that the farmers' interests are protected. That is not what the government is doing now.